Hi, I'm Amy and welcome to the latest episode of the Young Leaders podcast. I'm joined here today by my two colleagues Dan and Dan, and also we have a really special guest that's come all the way up from London today to talk about affordable housing for young people. So Martin, nice to see you. Do you want to introduce yourself?
So, hello, I'm Martin and I'm from YMCA St Paul's Group in London and around. I'm a progression coach there where we do training, education, volunteering, and I'm really passionate for genuinely affordable housing as someone who's experienced it himself, and now I see my residents going through it every day as well. So I'm really passionate about campaigning for genuinely affordable housing in and around London and all over England.
So what do you think the main challenges are for young people today?
So one of our main challenges for our residents is we've got ones that are ready to work, that are ready to get back on where they were before, but we've got nowhere to put them. So they will come into the hostel and then they will get stuck in the hostel because the councils won't house them because they don't have a vulnerability or a need to house them. The private sector is so expensive, they can't afford to work a normal job and then rent privately. So then they get stuck in this loop of just being in a hostel and not having anywhere to go from there. So we can help them in the hostel, but how can we help them if they've got nowhere to move on to afterwards? This then contributes to unemployment in the local area and they can't move on.
So really what you're saying is the YMCA is great whilst you're there, but actually there's not really many opportunities to progress out of the YMCA and to go on to. So just out of curiosity, how many residents do you house?
Across the whole of St Paul's Group, 1,200.
1,200, and
Yes.
There's nowhere for them to go after?
There is a few, but they're few and far between. So there's Y Cubes, or there is My Pads, which we also have in East London, which are like move on accommodation for people that are working. But there's not a lot of them, and I think we've got 36 in South London, and probably about 36 in East London. So out of them 12,000, they would, the 236s, they would get housed, or they could move on into more affordable accommodation where you can actually earn a wage and save up for your future as well, and not have to contend with £1,200, £1,300 a month studio and one bedroom prices.
1,300.
In the private sector, yes.
Wow, that's mad that London's so different here, you know, because I know that you can get like 3-bedroom houses for like £800 here, and you're saying that a 1-bedroom flat is £1,300. I don't think I could afford that, and we've got jobs.
Yep. So I've got the same thing with me. I've looked at it from the outside, and I'm like, I'm earning a good wage at the minute, and it's probably the best job I've ever had, but I still can't afford to rent a 1-bedroom house in London privately, which is insane. So how can someone who works a normal job in like Sainsbury's or Morrison's, how can they afford it if they're on less money?
Yeah, you're right. That's crazy, that is.
Yeah.
So have the prices gone up since you've worked at the YMCA?
So I
Obviously
seem
with
to
cost of living.
Yeah.
Everything.
So with the cost of living, everything increased. Rents, I just saw it seems to just happen. It's like inflation. Every time there's an August or there's a new tax year in the June, July, April. There will be like an extra £100 added on top, or so the prices have risen since starting there. They have risen. There's also a lot of gentrification in a way. So they will, if they've got an area that is cheaper, they will make it look nicer. They'll put a few new things in and then hike the prices up by like 300, 400, 500 sometimes pound a month. I grew up in an area called Mitcham, and it was a council estate. It was cheap. They put a new one-way system in and put a few benches in and some new flowers and stuff, and the rent prices have soared up well over 1,200 for a 1-bedroom. And I grew up in an area that was broke and didn't have money. I became an adult. I started earning money, and now the area is unaffordable, and I can't afford to live in the area that I've grown up in and lived in my whole life. So, yes.
Gosh. So I know you mentioned Y Cubes. What are they?
Y Cubes are that is modular housing that is set at a genuinely affordable housing rate. So when all these increases come in, the wire cubes only go up by a certain percentage. They will never go up by 50% or anything. There will never be a major increase that you see with electric companies and gas companies nowadays. All bills are included for a start. There is no deposits. You don't pay any form of deposit, so you can move straight in. They're set at a genuinely affordable rate. So in comparison to £1,300 a month, they are £700 a month. So you're saving almost half of what you would if you was privately renting, and that gives you the opportunity to put the extra bit of money away. So when you do need to move on, you have somewhere else to go. The only issue we have is there's not enough of them, and we need more of them everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, we've worked at the YMCA for years, and have you guys ever heard of Y Cubes?
Nothing. I've never heard of it at all.
Yeah, so they're basically like affordable flats. Is that what?
Yeah, modular. So they're temporary, and they can go up and come down easy.
Oh, wow.
So let's say in 50, 60 years time we had no need for them, they could come down as easy as they went up. They are cheaper to build, I would imagine. I think they are a lot cheaper to build than building a massive tower block. There's 36 of them, and the project wasn't really expensive. In I think 6 years, the money has been made back from the project. So the wire cubes cost 30,000 to build per unit. Just a happy solution for everybody and safe to live. And I can tell you from my experience that they are very well insulated. I've never lived in a warmer place. Even in the summer, it's too hot. So very well insulated place, and a place that you can call home and save money. And when you do need to move, you've got money either for a deposit. Just a real good solution to help with the housing crisis.
So going back to what you were saying about the YQ, where it's all inclusive, we do have sort of the same sort of scheme here at the YMCA North Staffordshire within our community housing, where we have houses within a mile radius of the YMCA, so it's a bit more affordable for people for moving on from the YMCA, or even people like in a student environment can move into there. They can have a house share or have the whole house to themselves. I think that scheme does give that opportunity to people, especially with the cost of living crisis happening at this current time. It's very difficult for everyone, especially us as young people.
Yeah, I agree. And a massive thing with the cost of living and not having that burden of worrying about your bills and stuff and having it included, it lifts pressure off of your mental health, because the news will put stuff out there that makes you worried, and especially if you're a young person coming through, your head's gonna be a little bit everywhere anyway, and then you're throwing in, your bills are gonna go up by this much. So having that all-inclusive thing, I think, helps a lot of people's mental health. They're a saving grace, they really are.
It's quite crazy, really, isn't it? Because did you know that we did a community housing scheme here at North Staffs? Yeah, so obviously the whole aspect and ideology of the YMCA is that we're all one, and that everyone across the UK, whether we're in London or whether we're in Stoke, is actually essentially we're all trying for the same outcome. We're all trying to have that affordable housing scheme for young people. We all do it in different ways, but actually we're not talking to each other, because obviously in London there's 36 Y cubes, did you say?
Flats, yeah, 36
yeah.
Y cubes.
And wouldn't have had a clue what Y cubes were until you said it, until we met you. So actually, I think really the YMCA need to be talking to each other more about ideas, because that sounds like an amazing idea. It can be moved as well, so it's no pressure on land.
Yeah.
And how we do it here in Stoke, we buy terrace houses, but obviously that might not be affordable to do so in London, with it being such an expensive place to live. But actually, if we're all talking to each other, it might be that we can get more ideas on what we can do. And if we're talking and we're campaigning for this affordable housing for young people, we could get the message out there to other YMCAs as well. What do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely. I sometimes use the hashtag on Twitter, Better Together. I don't know who coined that phrase, but I've stolen it from them, because as one, I can scream and shout, but I get tired in the end. As all of us, we can scream and shout, and we can make a difference in the local community, especially with housing. I feel like as someone who came from, when you're homeless, you feel like you have no voice, and you feel like you're worried about, you don't want to talk or you don't want to share things, and you end up quite reclused. With us, we work with them people and we have their voice at our heart. so we can do the screaming and the shouting for them and be the voice that they feel like they don't have at times. So yes, definitely better together, community.
Yeah.
Just a question, Martin.
Yes.
How was your mental health when you weren't in the Y Cube?
Yeah, that it was tough. So I just transitioned I went from homeless to volunteer to a full-time worker, and I just transitioned from volunteer to full-time worker. Now, when I was homeless, obviously my mental health was everywhere, and when it came to transitioning from, I moved from the hostel to go to a HMO, which is a house of multiple occupation. It was a very, I don't know the professional term, but a dodgy landlord who definitely shouldn't have been doing what he was doing. And my bills were increasing. My electric bill was so high I couldn't afford it on a day-to-day basis. I had a neighbour who was playing with fire alarms, and he had these issues, and it was never dealt with, and the place was never maintained. There was always mess and stuff. So I was trying to transition into work, and I already was finding it hard and difficult because you work 5 days a week, you have 9 to 5. I hadn't worked for 6 years because of my mental health. This was a pressure that I couldn't deal with on top, and I said to my boss, I don't think I can carry on. I can't keep working and then dealing with what's going on at home, and they were partying until like 3 a.m, and there was no breakthrough, and I didn't know what to do. And then again, the electric bills, the water bills, I got given a £2,000 water bill that wasn't even mine. So I was all over the place at this stage, and then luckily I came across the Y Cubes, and as a working or transitioning into a working man, they took me on at the Y Cubes, and it's strange because where I live is quite rough. There's a lot of badness. You're used to hearing dogs fighting each other and people screaming and shouting at each other and police sirens going on, but I've never lived in such a quiet place in my life. I said, I don't know what you've done to everyone here, but everyone just does their thing. They go to work, they come home, and for me it gives a real boost because a lot of people put a stigma around the YMCA and think these people ain't trying to do nothing. There's 36 people in these properties that go work every day, they come home, they sleep, they are normal humans. We're all normal humans. Like, we are all in this Y Cube, and it works. And I'm so grateful that it came on my lap because I've not had to worry in a year and a half now about my bills. As I say, the cost of living scared the life out of everybody. Even my poor mum had to move, and she don't even live in London. So yeah, it helped my mental health massively, and I want that to be there for somebody else. So when they're struggling, they will have that option of an easier transition from hostel into housing that is not as scary as if you went it alone in private housing where you got bills and everything else. So yeah.
You know what as well, Martin, I think you're such an inspiration just to be able to come and talk about your experience, because when I met you, everyone that I talked to you about you to, I always say Martin is such a laugh. Like, you've just so relaxed and so chilled. Like, me and Dan have both said, like, you're such good fun, and you would never know, like, from meeting you that you've come from this background, if that makes sense, because you're so resilient and you're so on it now that you would never have dreamed that you've come from that sort of background. And I think that just shows that actually, if you do have the help in place, you can succeed and get to where you have. Like, it's not just a story and a telltale and a fairy tale that we're telling our residents. It's actually something that can happen if they want it. And I think that's really important to say as well. Like, I think you're so inspiring, this story and how you want to help other people. I just think it's really nice to hear, really. And like, even when we went to, so just a bit of background, me and Martin met at the Labour Party conference last year. So we were both 2 youth ambassadors that had never seen each other before, and we met and we were thrown together for a weekend, and we just had so much fun. And every time we went to any restaurant or any new place, Martin was like, wow, this is so cool. And you just kept everyone's spirits high, you made everyone laugh, and you just wouldn't know, you wouldn't have a clue really that your mental health you have had to suffer through a lot of hardship to get where you are now. And I think it does show that if you can do it, so can other people. So it's really an inspiring story that we should be telling everyone. So thanks for coming today to talk to us about it, because obviously I think even if other residents here, if other YMCA's here, it's like, actually, we could do this and we could make a difference for our residents' future. And it's not just for now, but thinking about how we can help them in years to come as well.
Yeah, thank you. All you can do is try. I'm also really chilled out right now because I just got back from Greece. So I'm
nice.
on like a whole new level of chill right now. I'm lucky. I want to thank everybody who's been a part of my journey, because they pushed me a lot. Even at times when I was like, I can't do this, they pushed me a lot. There was a time, so before all of this happened, I was asked to do a round table with the Labour Party, and I was like, I'm not qualified to have this conversation with them. And my old regional housing manager, said to me, you're more qualified than anybody else. And then now he's given me that ability. I can tell my clients the same thing. You're more qualified than the people that are in charge, because you're actually going through it. And I'm so grateful that it's nothing short of a miracle that all this stuff has come together, and I'm so grateful that I've come out of homelessness for now. As I say, in London, you're only one paycheck away from homelessness, sadly. That's why we started #YQs everywhere on the Twitter, to try and campaign for more genuinely affordable housing.
Us as young people, like you know yourself, going to the Labour Party and talking and not being taken serious, we all know as youth ambassadors that our voice can travel a lot further. Like the older generation don't know what's going on in this generation. Me and you know as young people that young people need the opportunities, need to be taken seriously. When I went to a campaign for Warm This Winter for the cost of living, it was just a room full of old people, and I had to tell them and make them believe that us young people are facing problems as well. Like there's a lot of young people that live at the YMCA that are scared to get a job because they know one day you get a job, they're going to have to start paying more bills, they're going to have to move out. And it's scary because they're comfortable here, they know they can live life and do luxuries, but living in the big world, it's a scary place. And what we are doing as young people is raising our voice, listening to people like yourself when you were younger, that there is a way out, that you can speak to people. And I think that's one of the amazing things that youth ambassadors are doing, is using our voice to block out all the haters saying you're not important, we're the future, listen to us. What I'm trying to ask is, what do you think one of the main stigmas of housing is?
So I hear more often than not, I hear a lot of negatives about why have you not tried buying your house, or how have you not bought your house. And I've seen this on Facebook and everywhere else, and I don't think people realise that is physically impossible, especially in the London, outskirts of London, Essex sort of area, or even Kent now. To buy your house, you need a deposit of like 50, 60 grand. Unless you've got a good job, you're not gonna. And the housing market is crazy in London. I'm seeing, like, I was looking the other week for on a share to buy. I think it was like 400 grand for a flat, 1 bedroom in a building. 400 grand. That was one of the cheapest ones that I think I found. We've got ones in Wimbledon, you can imagine, that are absolutely crazy, because they've got Wimbledon Village that's worth millions and millions and millions of pounds. All these houses are worth millions. Some of us will struggle to make £1 million in this life. I think give people a chance, and if you don't, if you paint someone with a brush, they will end up turning into that painting if you don't guide them away from that, and if you don't push them to do something that take that first step forward. I was petrified of leaving my mum's house because my mum looked after me. I was a mummy's boy, and the washing up was there, the washing was done, I'd have dinner every night. I was petrified. When I left, it was all because I needed to grow up, but I didn't know how to grow up in a way. And when I was given half a chance, I got a job. I'm now living, I pay my taxes, I pay my council taxes, I pay all of my bills now. And without fail, every month my bills are covered, and I'm smiling because somebody gave me a chance. If you don't give that person a chance, you don't house that person. So if you're a private landlord and you try and do your housing at an affordable rate, but you won't accept a client because they're under 35, you're not helping the problem, you're making it worse. You've got to give people a chance. If you don't, then you end up with a paranoid society where nobody talks to no one, nobody helps no one. And let me be your proof that not everyone is bad. I had a naughty past. I was a little bit rocky at times with the life that I was living. I was drinking a lot, I was doing drugs, and then something happened. I now work full time for a charity, and it's the best thing I think that has ever happened to me. I love this job, and it's because people gave me a chance. People could have kept painting me with that brush, and I would have ended up on a different path. Maybe, I don't know, I could be in jail or I could be dead, but luckily somebody gave me that chance. So if you're in a position of power where you can give someone a chance, please give them a chance, and genuinely affordable housing providers give young people a chance as well.
That's inspiring, that is, Martin. And I think, like, one thing that you're saying is really, like, young people are the future, aren't they? So if we need to provide that pathway for them, because we are literally the future of the economy, the future of society. So why are we not providing these chances for young people? We need to be making sure that we are providing those opportunities. And I think there's a lot of stigmas to break down, isn't there? So there's the stigma of young people and that we're a violent cohort of people, I suppose. There's the stigma of the YMCA, and what do the YMCA actually do? And like we said, that's about talking to each other, talking to different YMCAs, talking to the community about what we're actually involved with. Because even when I started this job here, my mum was like, oh, the YMCA, like, be careful. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, and no one knows what the YMCA is unless people tell them what the YMCA is. And I think it's just about breaking down all these barriers to make sure that we are giving everyone those ample opportunities, and people that were in your position in the past or in your position now can succeed if there is help there. And I think that is, we are all one nation, and we do need to help each other. So I do like that hashtag Better Together. I think that's something we all should take on board at every YMCA, really.
I've adopted it recently.
No, it's brilliant. If you want to hear more about what Martin does, you can search ymcastpaulsgroup.org, or you can search Martin #YCubes everywhere to see what he's campaigning and what he's up to, and just follow his story, really. I think it's really, really inspiring what you're doing. So thanks, Martin, for coming today.
Thank you for having me. #YCubes everywhere.